Alrighty, folks, welcome back to another broadcast. Good to see you all again. Thank you for joining us for our monthly Q&A. I see some folks talking about judge promos, which is a fun topic, but we'll be getting into that. Tim, how are you doing? You're not in your usual location.
I am not in my usual location. I'm in a funky chair in my hotel room so I'm in Louisville for the Gamma Trade Show, where I'm talking to people about Star Wars Unlimited a lot. But I have something I need to show you because I just sat down on a chair. And let's see if you guys can read this.
Okay. I can read that.
Says drink good bourbon. We like that, right? That's fun. And ride fast. I believe my hotel is trying to tell me that I should drink and drive.
No, I think it's telling you to drink and ride, which is different. And I do believe that there are some states that have specific laws regarding drunken horseback riding, but I think a lot specifically leave it as a carve out so that you can ride drunk, so you can go to the bar that's far from your home and still get home safely.
Wow. Okay. In my state, you can't operate a bicycle. You can't be on a trike. You can't be on a big wheel when you're drunk. You know what? You can't even pull over on the side of the road and sleep it off in your car if you have the keys inside your car.
Yeah. I think it might be different in some other states, particularly where horses are more prevalent.
I guess. Yeah, we're not a big horse state in Oregon.
So, what do we want to start by talking about?
Well, let's start with the. I want to know for the chat. Jonah is totally pixelated on my monitor. Does he look normal to you all, or what's going on with Jonah?
Yeah, it looks good coming through on OBS on my side. So I think Tim's just crazy today.
Today? Okay, if Jonah looks normal, that's great. Okay, actually, then that implies, do I look pixelated and all kinds of weird?
You look clear on my end. I think we're good. I'm just going to be pixelated for you.
Okay, well, okay. So apparently there are many states where it's fine to ride a horse drunk. And these are the things people join this AMA to find out. Only they're the ones educating us.
We always do something a little bit strange here.
Okay. So what are we going to cover today? Because we actually have an agenda, but I figure I'll have you tell them what the agenda is.
We have two large categories that break down into smaller categories. Three categories. There's content that's upcoming. That's always something we're talking about. There's the positions that we're hiring for. And then there's the merch kits and promos that come along with them.
You want to start on what positions we're hiring for? Because that's quick and easy.
Yeah.
And we certainly won't get distracted on that at all.
So we are ramping back up to hiring. We're able to do that a little bit more expeditiously than we did the last time we said we were hiring.
Yes. And the first position we're hiring for is the
European delegate, which is somebody who's going to essentially be primarily running meetups in Europe so that Tim doesn't have to pay for me to fly over every other week to go to a large event. Although I would really appreciate that. I understand that it's not always feasible to fly over the ocean. They'll also just act as a conduit for concerns, particularly in the European community, and have somebody who lives in Europe is just going to better understand the differences in game store infrastructure as opposed to this side of the ocean, because there are significant differences in my conversations with folks who have been to stores on both sides of the ocean.
And, the other part of it we should say is we understand Europe, although it's a geographic entity, has lots of countries with lots of conditions, right? And Italy is different than Greece, right? Which is different than the UK, which is different, right? But and in a perfect world, we would have somebody in every single country of Europe, right? That would be a perfect world. But let's get started by getting a person who can join our team, and let's get started by having a person from the EU/UK who can join our team, and help support, like I would like to do many, many more meetups in Europe, for instance. So,
Yeah. Um, there's the comment from Tennessee Feet Monk that says, sounds like a regional coordinator. And Tim immediately doesn't like that comparison. And I think I agree because in other programs, there are coordinators whose job it is to work with individual judges, and that is not the role of the delegate. The delegate's job is to give us the pulse of the community. It is not their job to provide direct mentorship and provide direct guidance to interface directly between judges and tournament organizers.
and I should say, I actually love the idea of regional coordinators. I think it would be awesome. And that is something that we should revisit in like a decade or two. Because I mean, I honestly, that really is the timeline. Because that is something you do when your game is super, super deep and enfranchised. And then there's 101 employment related issues. And oh my gosh, when I sat down and started talking to my attorneys about having regional representatives who are in charge of facilitating development throughout the EU, crossing different legal systems, and uh yeah, they started turning red and getting very, very scared. But hey, things are better in Europe. People are less litigious, probably. So 10 years. 10 years, we'll talk again. That's not a promise to do it in 10 years. It's a promise to talk about it in 10 years.
Yeah, it's that sort of scope is significant and grand. The other role we're hiring for in the short term future is the subject matter expert. This is somebody who's going to have a lot of responsibilities that mirrors what I am currently doing. And so that's primarily going to be helping with lessons, syllabus, updating and refining quizzes, that sort of thing.
And that's a position that I care a lot about. Actually, I care a lot about all of these positions, but that's something I care a lot about, because how I think of that position is the primary job is to make sure that Jonah's head doesn't explode, because that'd be awkward,
It
especially
would
if
be,
it
yeah.
happened on camera.
It'd get views.
So what we've done, let let's let's cover where we're at with the application process for each of those.
Yeah.
So for the European delegate, Jonah posted this on Discord. We've been accepting people's, I don't know, it's not even application. It's just sending us a quick note that they're interested in that. And then we're gonna go have conversations and figure out who the right person to start working with is, as quickly as possible. And by quickly, I think, I can't do it this week. I'm on the road at a show, but very, very soon I'd like
Yeah.
to schedule.
And that role has a relatively, compared to the subject matter expert role, it has fewer applicants. And so it's one that we're going to be able to get through. While it is very important and it has long term consequences for the strength of the community on a global level, it is something that we'll be able to get through, I think, in a relatively short order. And then we'll be able to move on to our subject matter expert interviews and conversations. And
Oh gosh, McPherson, tongue-tied McPherson. Oh darn it! I just dropped my Wi-Fi. Ask subject matter. Ask contractor versus employee, and the answer is, if you can have a contractor for the position, everywhere in the world that I know of. And again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm just trying to play one on TV, but it's always easier to have a contractor. Okay, from an employer point of view, it's easier to have a contractor. The details of this matter dramatically. But we're open to taking applications, and we're open to taking applications and seeing what happens. Although I don't think there's any scenario where the EU delegate is not a contractor. In the subject matter expert, depending on where they this the categorization follows the worker where the work is being done, not the employer. And so what we'll do with the make Jonah's head stay firmly attached to his shoulders and not look like Darth Vader slash Mr. Potato Head position, that we will take a look at. We'll take a look at where they're located, and we'll run it by an attorney really quickly just to figure it out. But my expectation is they're going to be a contractor, but maybe it depends, right? It depends on 100 different factors. That's a lie. It depends on like 27 factors. So anyway, that answers that question, I think.
Yeah. So we're looking at European delegate, we're looking at subject matter expert. A big part of that role is to get a little bit of redundancy into our organization. Right now we have, I believe, a bus factor of 1, which is to say if either Tim or I go away, the whole house of card collapses, because it's 2 cards just leaning up against each other. And if one of them goes away, it's real hard to balance a card on its edge.
Although, honestly, my spouse Tracy has been and some of you have traded emails with her about shipping stuff. At least in the US, she has taken over responsibility for shipping, and I think, things in the US went much, much better. She's just a better fit for it than me. And also, she's a CPA, and so has been doing our books the whole time. But yeah, so I'm probably replaceable, and you, sir, are irreplaceable. You go away, it all falls over. I get hit by a bus on the way home. Whatever. Shrug.
If you say so.
Well, I'd miss me. Hopefully my wife would miss me, but yeah. Um, and then Cascade 2244. Honestly, best case scenario for EU rep is just in place and comfy before May. Yeah, that's probably fair. I'd like to get them started sooner. But things take time in the world. They just do.
Yeah, I'd like to start having in-depth interviews before the end of this month, and ideally have somebody hired before April. But I believe May 9th and 10th is sectors in London, and then 2 weeks after that, so the 22nd to the 24th is regionals in Prague. And so having our representative in place at that point in time, I think is a very good goal to hit.
I think that is a very solid goal. I also think that's doable. And to talk about that EU delegate position, we're really looking for somebody who's very deeply integrated in the community, who's going to these events anyway, who knows the judges already. Yeah, what we are not looking for is somebody who's a Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Magic judge, whatever, but who might be in the EU but doesn't like. We want somebody who's deep, deep, deep in the European, um, in the European Star Wars community, Star Wars Unlimited, obviously.
Yeah. Alrighty. So that's where we are with that. Applications aren't currently open for those. We have closed them so that we can begin to process them.
But if somebody wants to sneak in today, shoot it. If you hear this right now,
Yeah.
shoot it to me and we'll sneak
We
in.
haven't started processing. So the door is closed, but the like mail flap hasn't been boarded up yet.
We are not so big that we have to be super formal in our HR departments. Like, no, you missed the application window by 30 seconds. You will not be considered. That's not our world at all.
Also, for both of those roles, if you have applied, we have sent out emails to everybody who's applied being like, hey, we have received your application. If you applied and have not received that email from me, it was sent out yesterday, please shoot me a message so that we can make sure we have your application.
And the key part is for both of those rules.
Yes.
If we were a big fancy organization, we would have a cool piece of software that was tracking that, that when you apply, you create an account and it tracks everything. Yeah, we're using Google
I'm the
Sheets
cool piece
here.
of software.
Right. And it is the I don't it's a small enough number of people who are interested in the delegate position that I don't think that's an issue. But for the subject matter expert, it would be super easy to have a couple people slide through the system.
Yeah. Especially given the quantity of candidates that we have for that role currently, adding a couple more is not going to be an issue at all. Also, if you applied for that and are no longer interested in the role, just let me know and I will stop sending you emails about it. But do we want to move on to talk about upcoming merch kits?
Let's talk about what you're doing to support the. Let's talk about what you're doing
Content?
to support the content. Yeah, first.
Yeah.
Because
Go
I
ahead.
think that's more straightforward.
Yeah, that one's going to be relatively straightforward. In the next week or so, depending on when documents are officially released, we will have the rules update for Lawless Time, and then we'll have the follow-up policy update for Lawless Time. The rules update is going to cover our new stuff. There's a few modifications here and there. We've already had the article from FFG talking about the revisions to combat, which is going to be the big change this time around. And then the two new mechanics for Lawless Time. One of them is cards can now be 3 aspects, which isn't a new mechanic. It's just the same rules. It's just the same, except the colors are different. That's all the changes, and so that one's going to be very easy, I think, for a lot of folks to accept. And then credit tokens, there's still some outstanding clarifications for those, but they effectively, in 99% of circumstances, are one-use resources and are going to be relatively easy for folks to understand. We do have some questions coming down the pipeline with the Twin Suns decks about meet mech pilots again, but those aren't in Lawless Time, and so we don't have to worry about piloting or plot or disclose or any of these things that deal with hidden information. The rules this time around are relatively straightforward. And then policy, there shouldn't be any surprises in the policy update, as I believe pretty much everything that is in those documents has been covered by clarifications. And so if you've been keeping up to date with the policy clarifications, you're going to see pretty much no surprises with the policy update. So
Cool.
we're working on that, and then still working on getting those lessons on the aspects of judging out. The overview lesson I hope to get out early next week, just talking about what aspects are and why I'm talking about them so much and why they're important to me.
Awesome. And just to everybody out there, if they're like, Jonah has sent out support material for each set going, from when the game launched. It would be cool to get a little feedback. If there's more we should be doing, or something we should be doing a little bit differently. My sense is that it's going really well, but it would be nice to hear from everybody about that.
Tennessee Feet Monk, you're asking, does the policy update include links from the TOC and red lines? I'm not sure what exactly you're referring to there, so if you could clarify, that would be helpful. But while we wait for that,
Okay.
Oh, I don't believe table of contents is going to do click to jump. It'd be great if it did. And then red lines, I believe it's going to be blue, just because that's how they've been doing policy updates. And so I believe updates are going to be blue in the revision. I don't think we're going to have click to jump to like content headers. I know it exists in the comprehensive rules, and I'd love to have it in the comprehensive event guide, but I don't believe we're going to expect that.
Okay. Blue is new, red cross through if deleted is what we asked for. Okay.
I don't believe the official document will have text that is no longer applicable, because I would, if I were creating that document myself, I would not want things that are no longer true in the document.
Cool. Okay. Are we ready to move on to the next? We're just speeding through today.
Yeah, so McFerguson says biggest concern is the slow turnaround from FFG on getting things answered. I've been talking with them about improving our processes so things can go a little bit faster. It's something that I would also like to see improved, but there's only so much pressure we can put on our partners before they say, please stop talking to us. We have things that we're prioritizing higher than your questions, especially given that some of the clarifications get very into the weeds. It is getting answers for those, particularly for tournament relevant questions, is important, but some of those questions are less likely to come up in situations where they're critical, and putting a lot of pressure and harassing our partners is something that we want to avoid.
How about we want to save it? I mean, how I think about it, maybe I shouldn't admit this, but I think that we have a certain number of I get to pester you / be annoying in order to motivate you to do something points. And I am absolutely saving my points for other things that I want way more.
Yeah, an example is if there is, say, a contentious ruling or a ruling that is up in the air that is seeing play in meta decks right before Galactics, that's something that I'm willing to spend our credit on a lot more aggressively than a combo in Twin Suns that requires 2 leaders that you can't actually put in a deck together.
Yes, I think that's a very clear
Like,
that's a very clear way of explaining it.
getting
Yes.
those rules gaps covered is important, but if I need to send 5 emails to get a question answered immediately, I'm going to save it for when I need it and not do it with every single question. Level 1313 Too Nice
go
has
ahead.
a question, which is, what about the ambassador kit? When will it be available in the EU? Well, when will it be available in general is a great question to answer as well.
You want to go? Oh, actually, let's go in order of let's report on the Judge League and talk about the future of the Judge League.
Sure.
Then let's talk, and then ambassador kits, then next merch kit. Does that seem like
Yeah,
a reasonable way to proceed?
that sounds reasonable to me.
Okay. Okay, but I'm a little jet lagged, so if I start missing any of those, you got to remind me.
For sure.
Or one of the. Okay, so the first one, my sense is that the Judge League is a screaming success, at least in North America.
Yeah, that has been my perception as well. I think I've seen some comments in the Discord even recently saying that it has caused them to play more Star Wars Unlimited than they've played, like, than they otherwise would by a significant margin. And that's certainly true for me.
And the other piece of it is I want to loop back to something you and I have talked about several times. I guess this is more my hobby horse, but I want to use promos as a way to build community. Okay. And so for me, from my perspective, The Judge League is nearly perfect for that. It's something that gets judges together in physical space. It's special for judges. It gets them together in physical space. It gets them to play together, and I see and people tell me it's actually building community, and I kind of love that. Actually, I more than kind of love that.
Yeah. Also, quick tangent view of victory. I see your question. I want to wrap back around to that later, but I want to continue the current topic. But I see the question and we'll get back to it. Please remind me if we're
Absolutely,
wrapping up and I haven't responded to that.
yeah. Because
I think going back to Judge League, though, I think the biggest challenge I have seen with Judge League is that it was getting into the league because of limited quantities or the limited time frame that it was available. Um, and I
and
also know that
so
some people were disappointed in missing out on the screaming good deal we had for that booster inclusive version.
yeah, that was a screaming good deal. So the other part of that um, is we should just, we I very much want us to be people who are no bullshit people. And I think it's fair to say, I mean, just to remind everybody, we started out with the idea of doing it as a test in the US. We got feedback, hey, you should include
Immediately.
Europe. Yes. And we got feedback we should include Europe. And as we were discussing the test and how we were going to conduct it, because the original idea was just to do the packs and promos as a single thing and then sell out when we ran out of product. Okay. The I think it's fair to say we got a lot of feedback about quantities, and that that to some degree, well, we only have so many packs. Okay, as a limiting factor, we only have so much carbonate, and so that's what sets the limit on that. Um, so obviously didn't work well in the EU. We've got some ideas we'll talk about in a minute to make things better. Um, we need to deploy the packs a little bit differently to stretch it out so it can accommodate more people. I think that's a fair piece as well. And then the other thing is I don't see a compelling reason why so the idea of having the card only option is kind of half of it in my mind is it's good to support local retailers if you want to do it that way. It gets you a chance to play faster if you want to get started immediately. And then it provides an overflow because people bought the pack plus card option first. We can increase that number much more easily than we can increase the number of the pack plus promo combo. And so I think we can accommodate, we can use this as a release, kind of a pressure release valve to accommodate more people this time.
Yeah. Um, I want to tackle a couple answers for or questions regarding Judge League. McFerguson says the buy-in for Judge League was just bad timing for me, unfortunately. We hope to become consistent with Judge League. Our plan for we're going to talk briefly about the plan for Lawless Time Judge League. We want to launch it within a week or so of set release, and we want to do that consistently for sets moving forward. That's not a guarantee because we have to deal with shipping times and that sort of thing. But if it is something that people want to participate in, having some level of consistency so people can predict it and be like, okay, if you do need to set aside money or budget for it, you can do that and can make sure that you are prepared for it. I think we'd like to be a little bit more consistent in our release schedule of merch kits so that people can prepare if they want to or need to.
Yes, I want that very desperately. There are a number of challenges. There are a number of challenges about being able to be more planful. but I would like to do, you know, this. I don't want to lock myself in if feedback changes, but at least today, I would like us to do a Judge League quickly, very as close to the release date as possible for every set until it stops being exciting and fun for judges.
Yeah.
Although,
And if we're able
although
to hit that deadline of release week, more or less, that puts us about 2 months earlier than we did in the United States this time around, which means it's going to be a lot easier to run or play Judge League at your local planetary qualifiers, at weekly play, at store showdowns if you have a couple judges in the area. It'll give you time to organize a get together and get a bunch of judges together. I wouldn't be surprised to see if like a handful of judges being like, hey, let's all get together, go see Mandalorian and Grogu, and then afterwards play some Judge League games if you're within, say, I don't know, half hour, 2 hours of each other, just because you can do that if you have the time and the bandwidth for it.
and I'm pretty excited about that movie, by the way.
I am interested to see how it goes. I'll see it because I have to
Of
watch
course
Star
you
Wars.
will.
It's in the
It's
rules.
required. But we got an interesting piece of feedback here, which I don't know what to do about.
Yeah.
What about folks who don't want to play Judge League for whatever reason, but all the judges are prioritizing Judge League? It's definitely harder, but not impossible to get other games going. I think that is firmly outside the scope of my problems, frankly. Like I want you to play other games. I think that would be great. I think you can do all kinds of stuff. But my mission at this point is to get you excited about Star Wars Unlimited and to build a community around it. And if I'm understanding that correctly with other games, you do you, but there's like my job is to build community, hopefully through play of this game. And even if I'm misunderstanding and they meant other
I
formats,
think formats,
not
yeah.
but even then, I'm sure that's true. If we're facilitating something and making and essentially trying to encourage the community in that direction, it will be harder. But I can't imagine what else we would do.
Yeah. I think one thing that is happening is that there are. I wouldn't be surprised if it was genuinely an order of magnitude more games being played by judges after their shifts. Because it's not. Before Judge League, it was not be surprising to see a couple of judges in a hotel lobby playing games. With Judge
Okay.
League, it's not surprising to see 10 or more judges hanging out and playing games. And so I think you're seeing just a lot people who are playing more games who, if they weren't playing Judge League, wouldn't be playing other games, or they'd be like, yeah, I'll play a game or two of Premiere and then I'll be done. Whereas with Judge League, they're like, I want to play against each of the 7 other people who are here. I will stick around for 3 hours to play all of these games.
And and I apologize if I was being overly literal and saying game versus format. But one of the things Jonah and I can talk about and see whether or not we have the ability to support it is, from time to time within leagues, you could rotate the format, right? So, that's but that's a future Jonah problem, not a today Jonah problem.
Yeah, I think one of the added values of Judge League is that it's on a somewhat balanced playing field. For people playing Premiere or Twin Suns, somebody might be like, yeah, I want to play my fun little like meme deck in Premiere, and somebody else is like, I want to play like very competitive. I want to prep for the sector qualifier because I'm playing tomorrow. Whereas Judge League, I think the attitude is a little bit different. Although some decks do scale better than others because they trade for all the good cards. I'm not naming names, but if you play more, you have access to a effectively better pool because you've exchanged more cards. I do know, however, that like at Milwaukee, there was a 6 or 7 player game of Twin Suns. It's definitely not impossible to get other games started. It definitely is a little bit harder. But I also know that there are plenty of people who aren't interested in Judge League It's tough because like it does undercut the community in some ways, but I think it's right now doing more to grow the community. At some point in the future, it might be a constructed league for a set and just be like, instead of sending you packs, you're just going to bring a deck. But that changes things on our end pretty dramatically.
Jonah, I think, do you have like a piece of paper and a pen to jot down? There's a bunch, like I'm, I, I'm getting worried because we're getting good questions in the chat, but we've now exceeded my ability to keep the topics that we've announced that we've planned to go over and the side questions.
Yeah.
So could you jot down this question about helping TOs find L2 plus L2s?
Oh yeah. I mean,
And let's
so
let's keep going with what you're doing. Let's not try and answer
yeah,
it,
yeah,
but
yeah,
we've got that question and then the one that was previous to that, to do
yeah.
that.
From View of Victory about
Yeah.
local scenes, but I think that wraps us up on looking back at the Secrets of Power Judge League. That's going to be wrapping up relatively shortly. Pre-release is probably going to be your last chance to play games in the Secrets of Power Judge League. You'll still be able to get your last few games in. And then we'll be reaching out to folks and figuring out who has played the most games. Mr. McCheesy, real quick, this stream will be made into a VOD on YouTube. Generally, after all broadcasts, I just upload them directly to YouTube. It can sometimes take a day or so, but generally throw them up there. But level 1313 to nice. We'll get to that, I think, when we come back to do our roundup after we finish talking about merch kits and that sort of thing.
And
Unless you
and
want to
if
go
we
on a tangent.
miss your questions at that point, let us know. And I'm not trying to say don't throw them up now. You can. It's just we're queuing up a bunch of stuff. So okay, so Jonah will make an announcement. You'll submit results to Jonah, and then we will ship out the playmats to the folks who are the winners, and you will get Jonah's smiling face on a playmat, which I think is pretty awesome.
Yes. Alrighty. So let's talk a little bit more about the Lawless Time Judge League.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about what promos we're going to have for this?
So we don't yet have the unique for unique art promos for Lawless Time. And so what we're gonna do is we're going to, and there's been a ton of requests for, like, the number of judges is growing, right? And especially, well, the earlier promos, people have been like, how can I get this promo? There were very, very small numbers of those promos that went out. And so Jonah went through, and maybe Jonah with Scott. I don't know. I don't remember how it
Yeah.
exactly went down. I think Scott gets credit for that too. They went through and tried to figure out which cards, which promos do we have in our vault that have. God, I want a real vault. That'd be awesome. Which promos do we have? Which promos do we have extra of that we could use now for the Judge League? And
Yeah.
with no further ado, maybe you should. So, okay, actually, and we combined that with packs. We're doing 3 and 3, so 3 carbonite and 3 play boosters. Um, so that so that yeah, so that allows us to stretch it out and serve more people. We also yeah, there's a few other small changes in logistics. Right
We're going to
now,
have
go ahead.
packs available in Europe. And so if you want to do bring your own
Oh,
booster in Europe, that'll be an option. If you want to do packs in Europe, as well as the promos, that'll be an option. But for the launch of Judge League, so that we can launch Judge League when the set releases rather than some unknown period of time down the line after the set has released. We have chosen to go with promos that are not in the set. They'll still be playable in your pool. And we think we looked at the I don't even know how many promos we have now. I think it's like 30-ish, 25. But
Something
we
like that.
looked at our backlog of promos to find ones that we thought would be interesting in this format. So I'm just going to cut over to that so folks can see what we're dealing with.
Should be cool.
Oh, yep. Audio should be back. So, audio's back on my end. So, welcome back to Judge League. These are the cards. This is what the offering is in the United States. Again, it's going to be available in Europe as well at a similar price point. You'll note that we have the little sticker that says that this is the cost before shipping and handling. It's just a small change back end for fulfillment purposes for us. But while we are cutting out a carbonite, the carbonites we've also cut roughly a carbonite of cost off of this. You're still getting the 5 promos, you're still getting event entry, you still have the chance at the playmat. But yeah, you have the Ghost, you have Tech. I just think Tech in this format's going to Tech is always fun, but Tech seems very splashable, and you're going to be able to do all sorts of neat things, smuggling out who knows what nonsense.
What's SEC?
Secrets of Power.
Secrets of Power. Okay.
Tennessee Feet Monk. For all of our previous merch kits in the United States, shipping and handling was included. That is, as mentioned, a change in policy for this.
And I do not think shipping in the U.S. is going to be a significant thing for folks. But we got a bunch of feedback, including some people wanted to be overnighted, and people want more options. The software should, fingers crossed, be able to support that, and I do not think it's going to be a substantial cost.
And part of the price reduction is accounting for the difference in shipping and handling. Sal Dodger says, are we ignoring Premier legal rules for Judge League? Yeah, the cards that you open, including your promos, you can play in the deck.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we think Tech is going to be fun smuggling out off aspect cards. It doesn't combine with the base because you have to play it with hand with the base. But I think that Tech's going to offer some very interesting things. Poggle, I think with, I think it's Krennic, and there are a couple other things that interact interestingly with tokens. And I think it's, if I'm remembering correctly, there are a couple units or leaders who deal with sacrificing units or donating units, and so I think Poggle has some interesting lines there. With credit tokens, I think people are going to have slightly wider boards, and so Dooku and Kiadi Mundi both seem interesting. We'll see how it goes. This is definitely partially an experiment, but we felt that it was a better choice to launch the league with the set release rather than wait some unknown period of time until the set appropriate promos were available. And then wait some unknown period of time before launching the league. We'll see if we continue this trend moving forward. It might be that Judge Leagues come with promos from the past moving forward, just to add a little bit of spice. And then
we're gonna try and keep it fun and fresh. And something that that probably people have picked up already, but I should say it overtly. And I'm talking about me here more than Jonah. I am definitely in the ready, fire, aim category of life, right?
a little bit more than me, yeah.
I am super comfortable about trying things, figuring out how they work, and saying if it doesn't work, go and apologizing, and then trying to, like, I'm deeply on the side of experimentation.
Yeah.
That's why I'm always asking for feedback as well, because I really do deeply buy in this whole iterative cycle idea, right? And so, let us know how it goes. Um, I but I would like to give you more time to play, and it's always more fun for me to play right after when the cards are new and fresh. It's more fun for me to play. That's part of why I like trading card games. And so I think this my thought is this uh my thinking is this will be better, but you guys can let us know. Uh with that, should we talk about the timing of this now?
When we're
When
planning on releasing the kit.
Yeah. So actually, so the timing of this is I I very much want to go live with both. So the timing is not like this much time, it's like this much time, but I don't have a number yet because I do not know when the packs are going to arrive either in the United States, and I mean with our warehouse, it's not really a warehouse, but whatever, in the United States and in Europe, okay? I'm under the impression that that's going to be very quick, but you know, until it's in our hot little hands, I do not know exactly, but it should be very, very soon. Jonah, you didn't I didn't get to see the graphic you put up. Did it include the playmat?
It showed a small image of the playmat. We'll show a larger image of that playmat in just a couple of
Okay.
minutes.
I just confirmed from Drew Baker, who, by the way, if you guys don't know Drew Baker, you should Google his art. Drew Baker is an amazing artist. Actually, Google Drew Baker, do image search on Google, Drew Baker, Princess Leia art. He's just a fantastic artist, and he has a very good eye for quality, and he prints playmats. And so he's printing our playmats, and he has confirmed that he's shipping the playmats out to me now. So we will have them in hand and be able to get them to Europe. So hopefully there won't be long delays at the end of the league for that as well. But we've got the first trial, we've got those playmats already, and then the new Jonah playmat
which
will
is now
have
on
it.
screen for folks to look at.
He Jonah we Drew will have those printed out and shipped out to me tomorrow, and so it's going to be a matter of a couple days. So what we will go on sale when we have the cards, when the promos arrive in Europe, and we receive the playmats, because it's best if I can ship everything at once rather than trying to do multiple shipments where things might get lost. So the answer is this league will go on sale soon, but we don't have an exact date.
Yes, and the playmat image is courtesy of Glenn Preston up in Canada, taken during our duel. For those who believe or assume that I would have a red lightsaber, I had a yellow lightsaber. I have witnesses who can confirm that it was a yellow lightsaber. For those who say it looks cold, it was. I think it was about 5 or 10 degrees Fahrenheit, so like negative 10 C. It was not warm, and so we had a very brief duel before getting out of there. Tennessee Feet Monk says, so happy to be dying there. It might be delirium from the weather. Super Writer O says, can we get a list of what cards are going to be lawless promos?
Let's put that off to the side for
I
now.
want to show them with the art when we get that, because I think that's the most exciting way to find out. I have dropped a little spoiler in Discord a while ago. On the 5 cards, there are a total of 13 aspect pips. The aspect that shows up the most frequently shows up 4 times, and the one that shows up the least frequently shows up 1 time. And so you can do a little bit digging around. Some people have some guesses on what that might mean. But
Should we do some kind of reward for the person who, if somebody guesses all 5, which I think would be super difficult to do, but
I mean,
if
somebody
somebody
nailed them
succeeds,
last time.
yes, they did. Yes, they did. Well, it turns out, wisdom of crowds and all of that, they are collectively much, much smarter than us, and may in fact be smarter individually as well. So,
Oh,
um,
certainly.
but yeah, it would be I think it would be I think it would be fun to
Yeah,
do
we can
something
figure out something.
if anybody gets it. But
Yeah. But that is Judge League. Let's talk a little bit about. Do you want to talk a little bit about European fulfillment? Because we've touched on it here and there, and I think it's something. I think it's important for us to address.
yeah, well, let's start out with thank you for the setup and the answer that let's start out with what happened with European fulfillment was not okay. We've been working with Fanfinity, including I had a in-person meeting. Actually, Scott was there for that too. So we had an in-person meeting at Gamma working logistics yesterday. There's going to be more explanation. I don't want to get into everything today because it's been 53 minutes already, but I am cautiously optimistic, but I am optimistic that they're going to be able to meet our needs, and and so we're going to give it one more try with Fanfinity. I I I want to extend to them some grace, and I've known Wooter for the owner of Fanfinity for 25 years, and he's been a super stand-up guy, and he tells me it's going to be better. And we'll have a statement. We'll have a detailed statement about everything that's going to be done to improve this soon. Is that fair? I think that's probably enough, right?
Yeah. We have seen the concerns, we've seen the problems, we have talked with Fanfinity about addressing those problems, and they have a plan to address the vast majority of the things that they can affect. They can't change
However,
the prices of shipping or taxes. That's not within their control. But
and and we should be fair about that, right? That because I have gotten emails from folks, and by the way, please do feel free to send me an email if there's anything you want to talk to me about, right? But I've got email about, why that? And the answer is because it's the taxation system of the EU, and and there's many things I like more about how Europe does stuff. I like the social safety net, but your VAT is what's paying for that in most cases, and we we can't evade VAT, right? I'm not they're not signing up to be like international pack smugglers. That's not the job.
yeah,
And actually, you know what? I know nobody's going to like it, but I'm going to say this anyway. You should be proud to support your government and allow it to give you a level of service that's really kind of amazing. And as my son is applying for colleges in the United States right now, and the the social safety net, including college in Europe, is just radically different. There are also lots of good things about the U.S. system. I'm not trying to make a massive political statement other than don't bitch at me about the taxation system of your country because I can't change that. Is that
yeah,
fair? That's fair.
yeah. Curse Strife says, Tim, this is a lawless time. Curse Strife,
That's
I'd have to point
hilarious.
out that lawless time doesn't start until Friday. And so we still have a couple more days of lawlessness or lawfulness and order.
And I believe that was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away as well.
Yeah, but lawless times can extend for a duration. But do we want to talk about other upcoming merch kits?
So we have we we intend to do an ambassador kit. So we we know what we've got, the promos, we have secured printing, um and so we know what we're going to be doing for the ambassador kit in the US. We may have to print it. They're the extra large, they're the double-sided playmats, and shipping those from the US to the EU seems really not optimal to me. We're trying to work with folks in the EU to find a playmat printer. Because that is not, most of our playmats have to be printed by GameGenic because they're Star Wars images. The Ambassador playmat is not a Star Wars image. So we can print it anywhere. Um, but getting a printer who can do the right quality, because we really care about that, and get the right size in Europe is more complicated. Anyway, so there's a few logistics that need to be worked, but we're going to have an ambassador kit and get those Luke Invaders out to you soon.
Yes.
Not so first Judge League, which is like this much time, and then
Next
ambassador
couple of
kit,
weeks is our goal for Judge League.
which is, yeah, next couple weeks. And so short time, medium time, not even medium, fairly quickly thereafter for the
Targeting
ambassador
April.
kit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then and then after that, we will have a merch kit that with that's that includes promos from a lawless time. Um, we don't have a date on that. I would say it's like that much time, because it's going to have cool custom art and blah blah blah. But it's going to take some time for that to get to us.
Yeah, it is dependent on when we have access to those cards. I would love to target May. I don't think we will be any sooner than May. It might be a little bit later, but it won't be sooner than May, even if we get them on hand earlier, I believe, so that we give kits a little bit of time to breathe.
And although I'm having meetings tomorrow morning with Fantasy Flight staff, I would be shocked if it was earlier. I mean, the reality is printing promo cards is complicated and takes time, and there's a complicated approvals process, especially for promos. And so it's that it just is what it is.
Cascade 2244, can you clarify what you mean by have we had a judge event promo?
Do you mean do you mean a promo that's specific for an event?
I don't think so, because I know Cascade 2244 has received promos from specific events.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe it was the emphasis was on the term ours, right? But I don't know.
Oh, oh, okay, yes. We have not had any. I think all of our promos have been units. I don't believe we've had any upgrades yet. But okay, yeah, event. Sorry, I was thinking tournament, not card type.
Oh,
Card
sure.
type
Yeah,
makes a
me
lot of
too.
sense. No, I don't believe we have had any, but it is something that we think would be very cool, and we'd like to have cool events if we did that.
And what we've asked for, I'm not plural, I'm singular. What I have asked for is cards, although I know Jonah's on board with this. I want cards that look awesome. Okay. So I want iconic characters. I want iconic characters doing dynamic things. I care, we've talked about this before. I care a lot about the art. I care a lot about art in general, and I want it to be something that's super, super cool. So that's what we've asked for.
Yeah. Great. So again, for those who missed it, I just want to lay it out pretty clearly. In the next week or two, you should expect to see information about the Judge League for Secret or Lawless Time coming out and the kit being available again in the next week or two. In early to mid-April is when we are targeting the Ambassador kit with the 2-player playmat and the Pilot Luke's Invaders. It will not include Intro Battle Hoth because the excitement factor for that has long since departed, and it makes fulfillment even harder.
More complicated.
And so we're going to make it cheaper. We're going to get rid of the thing that isn't as exciting, and it's going to be a little bit easier for us as well. And so it's going to be the playmat, which people are excited about, and Luke Invader, which people are excited about. And again, we're going to be targeting that for early to mid-April. And then looking at ideally May, but no guarantees because it's a little bit out of our hands for the Secrets Lawless Time. Good Lord, I don't know what set I'm talking about. The Lawless Time promos. Ideally sometime before then, possibly around when we're announcing the Ambassador kits. We'll also announce what promos we have because there are some spicy ones in there. But
I like them.
Yes. We're excited for that. We hope to make it better. Hope to continue on improving and iterating on these March kits.
When Black Series promo packs went. Okay, good. Okay, so I am not. I don't know how often we should do. Speaking about Judge League, I love doing a playmat as a surprise. I really like doing something that we can print where we don't have to have it printed in China. With GameGenic, I think GameGenic is awesome in a lot of ways, but they've got enough on their hands, and I don't want to ask them to do a super limited print run. I don't know how often we can go to the well with cool pictures of Jonah doing things. But so far, the 2 times we've done this, the person who took the picture also gets a playmat of Jonah doing awesome things. And so, feel free to stock Jonah with a camera. And if there are, yes,
No, I know what I
Jonah
signed up for.
But if there are other images if there are other images you'd like us to use, super interested in creativity around that as well. So
also,
whatever.
Speaking of playmats and merch kits in general, we are looking for options other than playmats. I know that when the judge program started, there were a lot of people who were very excited to get playmats. Now, a lot of enfranchised judges have 50 playmats, and they're like, I, in fact, do not need a 51st playmat. There are enough here. I think you can never have too many playmats because worst case scenario, you can put them out on the floor, stack them up, and then you have some spare bedding for any guests who come by. But we are looking at other options for cool merch. We want it to be something that will be useful and meaningful, and ideally something that is particularly unique. So if we can, getting licensed art on things is difficult and time consuming. But doing something cool for y'all is in our wish list. It's something that we're aware of. We know that we drowned you early on with deck boxes. We don't want to drown you in playmats. It doesn't mean we'll never do playmats again. And particularly, like, if there is a promo that people really want a playmat for, we might be able to do that down the line. I know that with the Legends of the Force promos, a lot of people were really disappointed that there wasn't an Ogdo Bogdo playmat with a big tongue. It is possible that in the future we come back with an Ogdo Bogdo playmat.
We'll see. Maybe it's possible, at least. Or maybe we can just have a merch kit that just includes Ogdo Bogdo's actual tongue. Just slice it up into chunks and send it out to people.
No, we could 3D print frog tongues, like get some TPU, print out frog tongues. I think people would be excited about that. Dizzy Got No Jams and Mr. McCheesy say shirts and hats. Those are still waiting on a logo, a judge program icon, so that it is officially branded. That we're working on it. We hear you. We are aware that shirts are desired. Good Lord, do I want an official shirt. Not only because I think it makes the judge program and judges look more professional and orderly, but also because it'll get rid of like half of the emails in my inbox.
Absolutely. Okay. The other thing, there was a suggestion, work our way through Cascade Games and or Fantasy Flight's staff. You know, I'll talk to the Fantasy Flight people and see how they feel about being pictured. But I think that would be super funny, especially if we could get great pictures. Um, there's also another suggestion, Jonas Sleeves, which sounds fantastic. There is a problem though, which is when every company that I know of, when you order sleeves, has minimum order quantities of like 5,000, 3 to 5,000 packs of sleeves.
Or they'll
And
do
each,
one pack of sleeves for $25.
I don't know if anybody will do anything
There,
limited.
there are
Is there somebody?
there are a handful of companies that like let you custom order a pack of sleeves. Like you upload
I
your
did, I
image.
don't know about this.
I'll send you
We'll
some
talk
links
about this.
afterwards. But
Yeah, talk about it offline.
they are not cheap, and they generally don't hold up because it
Who
is.
cares? It's worth it to have Jonah on a sleeve. That would
Oh
be
boy.
great.
But if folks have questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. There's the two questions that we want to go back to. The first one coming from View of Victory. How would Cascade and FFG like us to handle local scene where no one likes to play Premiere, just focus on Limited and Twin Suns as they're played nearby? Yeah, that's it exactly. Get people to play the game in the ways that they find fun. What I would say is figure out why people don't want to play Premiere. Is it because they don't want to play meta decks? Then you can do something where you have like, I don't know, like having an in-store ban list, not great. Having custom format, that seems better. Just being like, hey, we're playing Bob's House of Comics Premiere, which is not Premiere. It has these different rules that our community would prefer. For example, you're limited to one of any legendary and no more than 5 legendaries or rares in the entire deck, in case people are worried about the price of cards or the accessibility of legendaries, or whatever it is. But what we care about and what FFG cares about is people playing the game. They don't like, they'd love it if everybody was playing Premiere, but if people want to play Limited and Twin Suns, that's still people playing the game. They're delighted by that.
Yeah, no, I don't think. I mean, honestly, I want people playing Premiere because I like bigger formats, but they just want people to play the game and have fun. And you play however you want to play. But, you know, there are going to be people who like Premiere better. I think I will, for instance.
Yeah. And View Victory, yeah, something like the Bidoof Cup that you're talking about for Pokemon, where you limit cards, that is entirely reasonable. Like, creating formats or events that suit your community is so great. Coming up with team formats so that, like, essentially, like, say the 3 of you play on a team together and you can't share heroes or bases or anything like that. You have to have, like, your 3 decks stacked together have to be effectively a legal deck, or a legal trilogy set of decks for a team. That will create some creativity and then also gets people to play together and interact with friends a little bit more. And I think some people might like that. Super Rider O says Pauper. So like a rarity restricted format, those are always popular. There are a lot of options, but yeah, just people playing the game better than people not playing the game.
Yeah. Cool. And what was the other question we had?
From level 1313 to Nice, how important is the L2 head judge for Planetary Qualifier right now? Many other judges are currently having trouble getting their recommendation for L2. Particularly, many L2 judges have not participated in the 3 competitive events, hence the question of whether level 2 is mandatory. In Germany and Austria, there are currently only 5, 4 in Germany and 1 in Austria. This is a concern that I am very well aware of. This is something that I talked with judges in person when I was in Germany for Essen and Munich. And the requirement right now is tournament organizers put in a good faith effort to find a level 2 head judge. If a store's like, hey, we didn't ask anywhere or put in any effort at all, and we couldn't find an L2 head judge, I'll be like, cool, put in some effort. You can go to the Discord and solicit there. You can create an event on Nexus, and here's a list of all of the L2s in your country.
Wait, and does everybody know how to get that list of L2s?
If you don't, just go to Nexus, go to user search, and then there's a little button that says 2, and you check that off, and you can see the L2s in your country. This is information that I believe has been communicated directly to tournament organizers, the steps to find that. Cascade 2244 says, what if a store has found an L2 but isn't willing to pay what they're asking? That gets very hairy very quickly. If a store's like, hey, we haven't found any L2 willing to pay what we're offering a soggy banana, and that's our comp. That doesn't sound like a good faith effort to try and find an L2. But if an L2 is like, I'm asking €1,000 to get staffed for an event, and the store's like, look, we offered 500 plus travel, that's more than a good faith effort. And so it's...
Hey, y'all, just quick thing.
Yeah.
Pretend he didn't say any numbers. My lawyer will like that more. But use a reasonable good faith. Hopefully the stores use a reasonable good faith effort, and there will be growing pains with any new game and any new judge program. And over time, we will get many, many more judges. I don't think this is a long-term problem, but it could be awkward. And we're willing to help out too, helping folks find judges. But realistically, there is in fact a judge finder. If there's 4 people in Germany, there's 4 people in Germany.
Yep. And if they're busy that weekend, then that's what reality is. Players aren't going to be penalized for a store not having the judge that we asked for, unless they go out of their way to be detrimental. But the event isn't going to be unsanctioned, and players are still going to receive their points, even if it is a level 1 head judge. We are pushing for level 2 head judges now so that stores get used to it, because it is going to be, if you're expecting under 64 players, you should have a level 2. Between 65 and 128, once level 3 is available and has been available for a while, you should have a level 3 head judge. I think we also want to talk with FFG about what expected staffing numbers are, because the old numbers were 1 to 20, which is a little bit aggressive. But I also know some stores are doing 1 to 80, which is a little bit conservative. And so having some recommendations from FFG and some guidelines, I think roughly 1 to 30 to 50 is reasonable. Once you go over 35 players, I want a second floor judge. And as these requirements and expectations become more formalized and become more enforced, ideally stores will follow them more. We'll have more judges in events. More people will get their experience. At this point, there should have been, sets 4, 5, and 6. So yeah, there have frankly only been something like 30 or 40 planetary qualifiers in Germany so far, which does make it reasonable for only a small number of people to have 3 events. I know some people are working 2 or 3 events every single wave. Other people are working an event every other wave. But it is a concern we're aware of. This is part of why we want the European delegate, because the experiences have been a little bit different in Europe and the US. Also, I think a lot of American judges or North American judges are willing to travel a little bit further for a planetary qualifier, or more comfortable traveling further. I think the farthest I know a judge other than myself has traveled for a planetary qualifier is like an 8-hour drive. I know I've done 10, and I know
That's
that those
insane.
numbers. Yeah, it was a 2-day show, and the other day I was doing some other judging stuff, and it was for a friend who I've known for, at this point, like half a decade or a decade. And so I was going to also hang out with friends. It wasn't just the PQ, but I know that, I mean, even for an American judge, those are always insane. DeCaniel says, I wanted to challenge these numbers because it's also dependent on the store configuration. I've had a poor L1 do a solo 40-ish. That's probably fine, but it was on 2 floors and the computer was at a 3rd location. So I think FFG should understand this when advising their shops. It's very country and continent dependent. Yes, absolutely. Like, you should have 1 judge per room that players are in. If your players are in, like, as a minimum, if your players are in 1 room, you need at least 1 judge. If your players are in 3 rooms, you need at least 3 judges, so that if there's a call, a judge can hear there. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
McPherson's got a really good point, especially. I think we should make a note and go talk with Fantasy Flight about, stores are told to keep the dates of events confidential, but realistically, I think we need to have that information get shared with judges earlier so that judges can plan. And yeah, I think I'll have that conversation tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens.
There have been a lot of stores that I know have reached out and been like, hey, are you available for an event on this date? I need a Star Wars judge on this date. I won't tell you what the event is, but it's smack dab in the middle of PQ season. And it's like, cool, I know what you're asking about. But a lot of other stores they're like, the publisher told me that I am not allowed to tell anybody that I have this event or have this date. And so I'm not going to say anything until it is publicly announced, which is a month before my event. FFG has been getting, the rate of communication has been improving. The quality, like, we're getting information about sectors and regionals further in advance than we have previously, and we're getting them more regularly. Same with planetary qualifiers. I think having that information public sooner doesn't detract from other events, but instead, like, reinforces this game is going to continue to thrive and grow. But yeah, having them talk with TOs and being like, yeah, you can reach out to staff early, here's how, would be great. It also, like, some stores are like, oh, I've worked with this judge before. I trust them because I've worked with them before. I've had them on payroll before. I am willing to tell them what my event date is because I know them and trust them. And that means that the judges who already have that experience are getting that information. And then a month later, the dates are announced and judges in the area reach out to the store and say, hey, do you need a head judge or do you need a judge for that event? And they're like, we have already finished our staffing and we did it a month ago. You never had a shot. And that's a very discouraging experience for a lot of judges. And it can feel very in club-y. And that's something that I'd like to avoid. But again, I can't govern how hundreds, if not thousands, of game stores operate across the country.
No sound.
No sound from you.
Oh, now your sound's back.
Great. I don't know what happened. I hope nobody lost me, but I think that is my ramble on expectations for L2 head judges. The short version is we understand that there are concerns in many areas of the world regarding those expectations and requirements. The true requirement is a good faith effort, and if you're not able to, contact Cascade, and we'll be able to help you out. If a store at the end of the season is like, yeah, we didn't have a judge and we didn't talk to anybody about it, that's going to be more problematic than them saying, hey, so we had an L2, and then they were unable to make it the week of because an emergency came up. And so all we could do was we had an L1 as head judge because we already had them in staff and couldn't find an L2. That's going to be fine. Like, you have put in a good faith effort. You have tried. The event isn't going to be invalid because of that. Now, if it happens 4 planetary qualifiers in a row that your L2 head judge has a family emergency and gets married 4 times, like, that's going to stop flying after the second one. It's similar to how folks say, they're like, yeah, I couldn't work on my homework. I had whatever family emergency. My dog ate my homework. First time, maybe you buy it. Second time, the dog ate the homework. Don't feed your dog your homework. But it's looking for a good faith effort.
Yep, I think we got it. Okay. Cool. What other questions do we have?
I haven't seen any in chat. If anybody has any last minute questions, feel free to throw them in chat. We've already been talking for an hour and 20 minutes. We've thrown up the playmat image. We can throw up the playmat image again if people want to see that again.
Yeah, it's cool. Playmat image. You should throw it up one last time.
Yeah, it was cold. Oh boy. And it was a lot of fun. Like, yes, that grin is very big for somebody who's about to get their head cut off, but it has been a long time since I've had a lightsaber duel, and it was just a lot of fun to have that lightsaber duel with Glenn. I'm probably not going to bring my lightsaber to many events, but if I'm driving to an event, let me know if you have lightsabers, and I might bring my lightsaber, because having a lightsaber duel is fun.
Wait,
Hi, I'm a Star Wars nerd.
Didn't you 3D print a blaster?
Yeah. I have a Amban sniper rifle in the other room. Yeah, we've got stuff.
Maybe we should get a picture of you with that someday, but not today.
Oh, Mr. McCheesy says, is there an idea when we'll get updates on the ambassador program / kit? Program, no updates anytime soon. Kit, we are hoping to launch that kit early mid-April, so in a little bit over a month. It'll be slightly pared down. It'll lose the intro battle Hoth, but it will have the rest of the contents that we've discussed. Oh, hey, Tim, while I have you here, you know how this double-sized playmat has caused you a bunch of logistical problems? What if we had a playmat for Twin Suns, so it had spots for 4 people?
Thank you so much. So right now,
they do have them on the prize wall, and they are glorious and huge.
Yeah, no, and that would be awesome. The problem is shipping them, right?
Oh, so yeah.
The double-sided playmat looks like the best way to ship it right now is in a box that looks an awful lot like a pizza box.
Yeah.
A 4-player playmat. I don't know how you ship it. Big pizza box, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, we'll figure it out. I think it's a cool idea.
Decanial and View of Victory, I don't have any timeline information on applications for events. I am not in charge of those. Those are managed by the tournament organizers for those events. So I don't have any information that I can share on those. Cascade 2244 asks, how is L3 progressing? Still on track for roughly Galactics? I think it'll be able to follow a very similar time frame to L2. I think, again, the exam will come out post Galactics so that we don't have the emotions and judgment of new level at Galactics. I think what I said about L2 at that time remains valid for L3. I wouldn't want somebody to take the exam directly before working Galactics, fail the exam, and then feel like they're the worst judge ever and undermine themselves at the event. And similarly, I wouldn't want judges there is always going to be some amount of judging people based on the number next to their name. And that is going to be a little bit more prevalent the first couple of weeks or the first couple of events where a number is available or a level is available. And I want to avoid that sort of jockeying or status at Galactics just due to the scale of it. And if there's some time between Galactics and the next set of events, that gives the level some time to breathe. But if like the level 3 material is done, say, at the end of June and there's a month before Galactics, we'll have L3 before Galactics. If it's within a week or two of Galactics, it will be post Galactics. The exact timeline is hard to measure because, like, for example, with the level 2 content, as I was creating it, I was like, oh, this is actually just 3 lessons worth of material. It is not 1 lesson of material, so I'm going to have to expand this. Or these 2 lessons can actually be combined into 1 lesson. Let's make this a little bit more efficient and save everybody a little bit of time. So the exact syllabus is very far from complete, but I'm still hoping to get those first few lessons done towards the end of the month, but I also still do really want to have the subject matter expert on board to help refine and improve the quality of those. And so depending on where we are in the hiring process, I might push back L3 just to make sure that it is higher quality when it does come out, because even though one of the first jobs of the subject matter expert will be go back and make everything better again, it feels very silly to make something and then know that the next thing that's going to happen is go over and change it. Although that's what I did with the L2 policy lessons and the update to policy, but that's a whole other tangent.
Cool. Jonah, I think we're done. What do you
think we are. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And we'll be back at the very least next month for Q&A, but we'll very likely have some roundups for lessons and other content coming out that is not level specific. And of course, you'll hear more from us regarding merch kits as we get closer to them. I want to give you as much lead time on when they're available rather than being like, hey, they'll be available in 12 hours. I hope you're ready for that. I'd rather give you a little bit more lead time, but we're still targeting, again, a round release for the Lawless Time Judge League. And with that, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you at the next one.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Jonah. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.